What's up, guys? I'm Agent Orange. Welcome back to the Orange Rewind, the show where I pick a game-changing track from the history of house and techno music, give its history, chop it up in the studio to see how it was made, then give an interview with the artist at the end of the video. Stay tuned for that. Today's artist is Hatiras, and the track is Space Invader. Let's go.
How's everybody feeling?
If you were into any style of dance music in the year 2000, you were definitely invaded by Space Invader. From house to progressive to techno, all the way to drum and bass, Hatiras' Space Invader, or one of its massive top-tier remixes, was definitely playing at your favorite club, rave, pool party, or after party. Without a doubt, Space Invader was the most anticipated house track to come out that year. We had just avoided the Y2K computer meltdown drama. We had finished partying like it was 1999, and we were full on ready to usher in the new millennium. Dance floors all over the world were grooving to the early release of Space Invader, and DJs were fiending for its full release date to finally hit the stores. The anticipation of its release date would only be surpassed by the anticipation and suspense that occurred inside the actual track itself. When the disco loop finally lets loose and filters all the way up, and all of its rising effects climb to the top of the frequency range, I can assure you that I've witnessed it create a rift in the time and space continuum, sending ravers through a portal into an alien dimension. It took the definition of what an uplifting track can be to the next level. In short, a true definition of a game-changing track. Space Invader was first released as a short run on Chicago's IHR Records, the label of DMC champ Bad Boy Bill.
Bad Boy Bill!
After immediately selling out a run of 10,000 copies, it was licensed to the UK's Defected Records and came out fully in the year 2000. Hatiras' masterpiece had just been given wings. Before and even way after its release, Space Invader went into heavy rotation by the world's biggest DJs. Carl Cox, Pete Tong, Slam, Harry Romero, Umek, Dave Clark, Joris Voorn, Mark Knight, and so many more. I could go on for days. Defected Records' very well-crafted remix casting included a who's who of remixers at that time across several genres, including Ian Pooley, Olaf Basowski for house, Mr. G's more techie techno version, Darren Emerson's progressive style version, with more remixes being added later in the part 2 by King Unique, and even a bootleg from J Magic with a brilliant drum and bass remix. Not an easy thing to do with a disco-based track. He did such a great job, it saw the record move to be a hit in that genre as well. Space Invader peaked in the top 10 in the UK charts. Now let's go to the studio, deconstruct it, and see what made Space Invader a true game changer.
Rewind.
Alright guys, so here we are in the studio. Let's talk about what made this track a game changer. It's all about the rising energy. The disco loop gets filtered up, the riser, the frequencies rise up on it, and there's an LFO sound that comes in, and there's like this white noisy, really crazy, kind of a shepherd's tony sound that's just elevating. And when everything opens up, it's just totally nuts. And that's really what made the track, especially when the LFO kicks in, like wow, 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 wow. Really sick. All right, so we start off with a small crash cymbal, the disco loop filtered down, and a 909 soft kick drum. And a little bit of that loop is coming through. You can hear that horn stab right at the top of the disco loop. Bow. It's filtering through because the attack is really slow on the filter there. So let's start off here. We've got our kick. We've got our loop. I grabbed it off the record, filtered it down. Here it is, 133 BPM. We've got the attack slow, so you could hear the strings and the horn come through a little bit. Then there's a crash. Let's see what we got here. Pretty close. Next, we've got the hi-hat. A short 909 hi-hat. We've got our TR8S today with a 909 open hat. And let's get that in there. It's nice and short. Shorten it up even more. All right, next we've got that shaker that comes in. Let's get that shaker in there. And we've got our 909 clap. Let's drop that in too. Then we've got the risers. So we've got the riser sound. That bang, bang, bang. So he's got really steep filters on his ESI 4000 that he used. We've got the sound here. As close as we could get. And then we've got this Shepherd's Tony kind of air sound, which is rising up.
A Shepherd tone, named after Roger Shepherd, is a sound consisting of a superposition of sine waves, separated by octaves. When played with the bass pitch of the tone moving upward or downward, it is referred to as a Shepherd scale. This creates the auditory illusion of a tone that seems to continually ascend or descend in pitch, which ultimately gets no higher or lower.
In the background. So let's add those Shepherd Tony and airy sounds. So once the riser sounds are in, the disco loop starts to filter up. And this is where it starts to get really wild. Let's filter our loop up here. Back down. Break it down again. We keep writing it out like that until we get to the first big breakdown and the crazy LFO sound comes in. Madness. So Hatiras told us this was a sound he found in the MC505. Added an LFO to it, did a pitch shift, like a slow pitch rise, and resampled it a few times to get that grittiness, layered it. I was able to find something similar. I did a bit of processing to it. The low end comes out, and the disco loop's rocking. The risers go up, everything goes up, and then the LFO sound climaxes and the kick and the low end comes back in. So we are somewhere here. So these are the main elements. We basically have build-ups and breakdowns using this LFO sound that comes in, this riser, this white noisy kind of shepherd's tone, that just keeps kind of looping, rising, and the disco loop that keeps filtering up and down. The tension that it creates is just phenomenal. It just gets the dance floor going every single time.
Rewind.
Hey, George, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So, Space Invader came out in the year 2000, correct?
That's right.
Can you tell us where you were and what you were thinking about or trying to achieve when you wrote it?
Well, for the 7 years or so leading up to that, I was very deeply involved in the Toronto rave scene. So I started out like selling. I had a smart bar for any old school ravers. They might know what a smart bar is. It's like an energy drink stand that would like blend up, protein and vitamins and bananas and a smoothie bar, right? So I started at the raves running my own smoothie bar called Liquid Adrenaline.
Okay.
And I'd be at every rave, every weekend, every Friday, every Saturday, even Wednesdays and Thursdays. I probably attended every single rave-related party in the Toronto area from like 93 to 2000, And after doing that for the first 2 years, I just got to know everyone in the scene. So I started throwing raves, So it was just being at raves so much for so many hours, for so many years. It's like I was just penetrated by the pounding kick drum and the buildup. And that was all that really mattered to me. I despised too much melody and trance from the beginning. I never liked that,
Okay.
In a big warehouse party, like the kick drum is everything and so is the buildup, Yep. So it was like I just wanted to capture the feeling of the big pounding kick drum rave crowd with a build up and make it over the top. I was inspired by like some of the early like Roulette Records releases. Thomas Bangalter, he put up some stuff that had this like filtered disco building, Yep. Yeah, so it was like I didn't really know what a chord was or a key signature or any of that. I didn't have real music theory training. I just kind of wanted to just make some beats, Right. So yeah, it was when I first made, that was the third EP I released, and probably like maybe the like between 10 or 20th song that I ever worked on, like ever,
Okay.
So it was I was just trying to like basically get the crowd's hands in the air,
So it was all those years of going to raves just concentrated down into like
the peak. Yeah, and at the time, certain songs like Higher State of Consciousness, Josh Wink, it was people just loved the buildup, and it wasn't like now like it's a formula, like especially like as it's been hosed by like a lot of the EDM garbage. They like made every song have this like epic.
I know our friend MC Flipside likes to call those tracks the salami tracks.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, but like that wasn't a common. Just the big tunes had that tension and release. You know what I mean? At the time, a lot didn't even do that.
Right.
So I was trying to just make a really explosive kind of feeling when I made that. Yeah.
Cool. Who were the first DJs to play it, and how did it end up getting signed?
Well, as a promoter at the time, I was pretty connected. I was throwing like 5,000 person parties at least 4 or 5 times a year. So I felt like the big boss guy. I didn't have any obstacles in my 20s. I was, laser vision. And I first got feedback from Bad Boy Bill regarding that track. In fact, I made a demo album like a few months earlier. I sent it to him, and he loved it, and he wanted to release all the music. He had played at a party of mine previously. Okay. And I was like, you know what, I can do a lot better. Forget these 6 demo tracks. I'll make you a whole bunch of new tracks.
Okay.
So I made him like a first EP with 2 tracks, and then another with 2 or 3. And then the third EP was Space Invader. So I had signed a multi-release deal with him at the time, Okay. So, and then he got it into the hands of like all the big wigs like Carl Cox, and he pressed up the vinyls. So
this was 99 then?
99,
98, yeah. 99. Okay.
99. He put out the white labels, put them out, got them out there. And he told me he sold at least 10,000 really quick, which at the time was like...
So that was first released, or this was still like just white label underground?
First released on his label IHR, International.
IHR originally, okay.
Out of Chicago. So he sold quite a lot quite quickly, and then that's when he made a deal with Defected Records to then license it And that took time, another year, and they like got remixes and another new bundle and then a music video and pushed it even more.
Yeah. What date did the Defected one come out? Because I remember being in Miami in 2000, and it was literally at every party, like you would hear it 2-3 times a day anywhere you went. It was like always anticipated.
Yeah, crazy.
But I remember it wasn't out yet. Like the DJs didn't, only like some of the big guys had it, or I guess whoever bought that first run from IHR.
Exactly. The first
so
time, like
later in 2000,
I believe so. The first time like I ever like test played it, I was playing at one of my own shows. It was in January of '99.
Okay.
And I remember right before the show, I played the track to a friend in my car on cassette tape. That's how I had it,
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, this tune's cool, but that like riser's so whack and over the top and annoying. Delete that, and then the track's cool." And I was like, "I'm gonna keep that." And then that riser is what made it a hit, basically.
Yeah.
So it had the rocket launch,
Yeah, for sure.
But like it took a while, at the time now where you make a record and you're like the same day you could put it out on whatever platform, and spread it around the world. But at the time there was, obviously the internet was still new, and that song took like, it was like a 3-year brewing process of like from when I first made it to coming out on IHR to then Defected to then the remixes and then more remixes, so it was like it had its own life,
Yeah. Speaking of the remixes, how did it feel being remixed by such artists and in so many genres, from all the way to drum and bass, like tech house?
Well, the drum and bass was really
I think you were telling me this story in Amsterdam last time.
That made a lot of sense, drum and bass, because the parties I originally was like really into drum and bass, and I was at the point where I was deciding if I was going to like produce drum and bass or house, and then I just fell into like sampling, which was a lot like easier to get to than like building a synth bass line and that whole. So like I always have loved at the beginning drum and bass and house pretty equally, and my parties had like 2 equal rooms, like house and techno and then drum and bass,
Oh, cool.
So I was quite connected in that world. I used to hire like pretty big, drum and bass DJs at every party. Okay. Always 1 or 2,
Nice.
So, but I do believe that it was after we did a deal with Defected that somehow the samples leaked from Defected to J Magic, because he was doing some other work with them at the time. So I don't quite know, and it was all a mystery to everyone, and it wasn't really on the books or anything,
Okay.
It just kind of came out, and then I heard it. It's like, and I thought it was pretty cool.
So it was like a bootleg at first.
It was a bootleg. I think always been a bootleg. In fact, I actually crossed paths with J Magic like more than a decade after it released, and it was cool, but it was awkward because like it's like, you stole my song, you made it a piece of history with your remix, but I never saw a penny. So
Defected never released it. Like
it was never the drum and bass version was never properly like official release. It was
wow, interesting.
It was just going around on on white labels and whatever they did. I don't know. But at the time, too, things were, I don't know, not so accountable, right? So, when I met him, it was like, it was like, it was cool. But then there's a party that's like,
yeah.
Am I supposed to like be mad at you, or am I supposed to be thanking you, or am I, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah. I've
like at the end of the day, we were all gracious and happy and cool vibes, because it was a piece of history that happened. His remix really did blow up,
Right.
But that's how that remix came out, and even that, every party, every rave I was at, there's every drum and bass set they would drop it, and the room would just erupt,
That's awesome.
So. Yeah.
So where was the the best crowd reaction you ever seen, and was it during one of your own sets or someone else's set?
The first time I ever played the track, January '99, it was a rave I was throwing.
Wow. Okay. Was it New Year's or no?
I know it was after New Year's.
Okay.
I was at this place called Shock Nightclub in Toronto, and I remember playing it. And it's on a CD box. I had like I had to bring in like the CD unit thing because I was burning the new songs. I was
like a Denon or something.
Yeah, a Denon. Yes, a Denon. So I burned all the new songs on CD, and I would DJ them. And it was like a live PA. I remember playing it, and the room like just erupted and roared, and it was like, oh, we're onto something here. And then like literally when I was done my set, I went up to the like office where we could overlook the party. And the security guard who was working with us was also taking care of Steven Seagal from Marked for Death.
Okay.
Yeah, at the time, like Steven Seagal.
Yeah.
So Yeah, he walks into the office with Steven Seagal. Yeah, what the hell, eh? So we're like, holy shit, that's Steven Seagal. Like, okay, that's cool. Nice to meet you, you know? And so we like walked Steven Seagal around the rave, showed him the party, and everyone saw him and was like following him like a flock, you know? I remember walking him out, and then he was like, "Oh, this is cool, man. What is this? What is this music? What is this scene? I've never seen this before." You know?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, this is like rave. It's electronic music. It's the future. You're gonna see. It's gonna blow up. This is the future. This is what it is." Oh, cool, cool. And then he got in the minivan and drove off. You know?
So that's kind of a double memory. That's pretty cool.
It is, yeah. The fact that like I dropped the song that night, and then,
right,
you know.
Steven Seagal.
Yeah, what the hell, eh?
That's funny. So what gear did you use to write the track on?
So I still have it, although it's like plugged in the other room, more of a souvenir piece, but the ESI 4000 sampler.
Yep.
With like about a minute of sampling time. And it was plugged in, I think it had 6 or 8 outs, plugged into like a Mackie mixing desk, a 1604 VLZ, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And sitting on top of it at the time, I had a Roland MC303.
Yep, I had one too.
And to the right, I had an Atari all-in-one box like sequencer. It had like a Cubase and then the MIDI cable in the back, plugged into the sampler. Yep. And then the outputs of the sampler going into a DAT machine. You know.
Okay.
So yeah, it was like basically I sampled the kick drum from the MC303. Through the Mackie into the sampler, and then I had a Roland MC505 as well, and I sampled like a synth patch on that, and put it into a basic SoundForge kind of a program at the time, and it was revolutionary to be able to like pitch bend the whole synth, you know.
Which one was it? Which program was it?
It was SoundForge.
Oh, okay.
But I sampled like a long synth sound from the 505, and then like pitch bended it, right?
Uh-huh.
So so then I did like a high pass LFO in like the sampler.
That's the sound that's in the breakdown, I think, right? That rising LFO sound. Yeah.
The high pass LFO, you know?
Yep.
But I also somehow that same exact sound, I had high passed it so high and resampled it in somehow that it was like this like rising white noise kind of a sound that went pretty long. So like somehow it just like I created like a shepherd tone without knowing what that even was. It was just like forever.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then the riser, and then like those stabs are from the MC505, you know. Mm-hmm. And then at the time I used to go to a used record store downtown Toronto, and like they had you can't hear the record, but you could buy it for a discount, like $2 to like $8 or whatever. And I would just find the cheesiest like disco cover, disco logo, funky, whatever drew my eyeball, you know.
The eyes, yeah.
I didn't want it to be anything I've ever. I don't want any like Kool and the Gang or Madonna or nothing that anyone. No way, you know.
Nothing typical. Okay.
Only obscure, unknown. The more rare, the better, you know. And I'd go there and buy like maybe 10 records at a time. And I never listened to those records, and I have a lot of those records. I refuse to listen to them. I don't want to know what they are. I put the record down, and I'm just lift the needle, drop it, lift the needle, drop it. I don't want to hear more than a second, you know?
Like what a sample would be. Like.
Yeah, that's it. Because otherwise it'll ruin I'm looking for textures. And so with that, I found like a horn stab, you know? So I just sampled that little horn stab, looped it in the sampler, you know, duplicated it, like a low pass version, a high pass version, some LFOs, you know, a kick drum, a shaker, a hi-hat, a clap, a snare, like that's pretty much it. The synth sound, you know?
Yep.
So it wasn't more than like, I'd say 10 tracks at the most, you know? It was all about the automations, right? Mm-hmm. And people think, oh, maybe it was old, the technology, 20 years ago. Sure, maybe you could do things quicker now, but the circuitry used in that sampler and in that mixing desk and, like it all had a vibe and a texture and like a great analog like sound, you know what I mean? So like you could still, and I could automate all the cool little, like the LFOs and little filter attack and decay little thingies,
Yep.
So that's how I started. And it wasn't until years later that I was like frustrated that I didn't know music theory that I finally gave in and learned more of that stuff,
Okay.
So, but at the end of the day, you don't need to know all the rules necessarily. It's good to, but if you have the vibe and the inspiration, that's more important than being educated with the rules and the box around you. It's better to like have inspiration and drive than to have like all the knowledge and tools and no drive, right? So,
agreed. I mean, that's kind of where the art of the DJ comes from. It takes kind of samples of different things and kind of puts them together in a big mix, a big collage in a way, So, exactly. I mean, I kind of came in through DJing also. I first started like that and then eventually learned a little bit more theory and this and that. Mm-hmm. But if you come in from the theory, I feel like you're going to miss capturing energy that a DJ could capture. You know what I mean? Like exactly, kind of the same thing when you're needle dropping, just to find that little glimpse in time to not dilute it somehow,
I remember when I started, I was talking to one of my musician friends and I was trying to explain to him because he was like a little confused because he picks up his guitar, he's looking for chords and notes. And I was like, I'm not really doing that. I'm like actually hunting for frequencies. So like by having something low passed and then having it open up, like that's like a musical motion that's different from playing chords and notes, but it's still valid. It's a different way of attacking music. So that was the whole filtered disco house movement, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Sneak and all Bad Boy Bill, it's all he played, that stuff. It was all about like, and where you stop the filter and how much resonance gives it like the little nice ring. And
yep.
It was like all about like frequency magic or frequency hunting,
Yep. Do you have any current or upcoming projects that you want to talk about?
I have so many. It's ridiculous. I don't know how the hell I have so many. It's like I literally have like a record every week. I've had like 2 records a week I'm releasing on my label right now, Space Disco Records. It's currently probably one of the prominent labels on like maybe Track Source and for like filtered discos, vibes and sounds. And it's all based on the thinking that I had when I made Space Invader. Filtering, funky 90s and even making things that way. I don't want to like stray too far from that style, So yeah, look up Space Disco Records. All the socials are one word, Space Disco Records, or look up Beatport or whatever. And right now the label has like, I think I have like 80 artists on the label or something. It's gotten quite big. I'm about to hit the 200th release by the end of the year. And I'm dropping a record every week. And more than that too, is that I don't even know how I'm doing this stuff, to be honest, but like I'm doing a bunch of music videos too,
I saw some of your stuff to your YouTube channel. Really nice.
Yeah, and I have a bunch of more coming. Like I have another one releasing this week, and then another one next week, and then I'm exploring a lot of. One of the things COVID has done with killing my entire touring career, like everyone else, right? Is like I've been really exploring more the visual editing. I've always done that, but now I'm not getting on a plane on a Saturday and packing and stressing and flying somewhere and coming back tired on Monday dead,
Right.
So all this extra energy to like do video stuff. So like look out for more video content and editing and filming and,
Cool. Your YouTube channel is Hatiras?
Yep. YouTube.com/Hatiras. Yep.
Cool. Nice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Now to the really important stuff. What is your favorite heavy metal band?
I don't. Maybe I would think the first thing I think is like Metallica, because like when I was young, I remember hearing that with my one buddy who like played Dungeons and Dragons and play those. They're really good songs, actually.
I'm a big fan. Yeah.
They're not even really that hard, really. You think about it, but like
they're all pretty melodic. Like they break down in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So that's my first. Yeah.
First choice. All right. Next question. Can you feel it?
I can always feel it. I feel it too much.
What's too much?
Man, sometimes I just need to turn it off. I wish, it's like hard to, even now it's like, oh shit. So I can like make a track like from my bed with my laptop on my lap. I can do the arrangement and I can do this video editing and I can do this design and I can do the sound design. Like it's almost like overwhelming, So it's like, maybe I should like numb it sometimes and like, I don't know. I feel like so many options now,
All right, cool, man. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, you too. Okay. I'll talk to you soon, eh?
Peace, brother.
Okay. Yep. Bye.
Rewind.
Hey guys, hope you enjoyed that episode of the Orange Rewind. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit subscribe and don't forget to drop a comment below with song suggestions for future episodes. I'm your host, Agent Orange. Until next time, stay young, love techno.